I don't know what happened.
I don't know either. I was like, oh, okay. Well, now I'm co-host again, so.
Yeah, and I'm not. Okay. Hopefully that works out. Let me see. So I'm in, yeah, because I started my other meeting as myself. So I'm hoping that that's not causing the problem because.
Yeah. Yeah, this happened at my morning workshop too. We were in the middle of Q&A, and then our meeting closed because I think somebody else was trying to start another meeting. So
Yeah, it's that's one of the things that's kind of a pain in the butt that we're realizing is not everybody has a Confer Zoom account, so we can't all have the same like benefits associated with it, but then it causes problems if we're having somebody like log in to start a meeting. Zoom's great, but there's stuff that we're learning, and it's like we're learning it as we're having problems. So we'll have to start. Okay, so can you make me a co-host again, Brianna?
Yes.
Yeah, I hope it's not that other session that we have going on too. 15 people. Okay, so I can see the waiting room. I was just getting ready to pull in the transcriptionist so she can start.
And Brianna, could you make me host again too?
Yes.
And then I'll make you a co-host then.
Okay.
See, Brianna, you didn't need to come to our session yesterday. You're getting it all right now.
I know. Learning everything.
I know I saw the person in here, so I wonder if she got kicked out. David, Max, Sandra, Virginia, Carrie, Jacqueline, Marion, Leslie, live captioner. Okay, so I'm bringing her in right now. I don't see the interpreter yet. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, I'm back.
And so whoever the host is can make Suzanne the, what do we have to do, Suzanne? Make you the transcriptionist? Is that what this
You have to make me the captioner. If you just hover over my name, you can, and I think you right click it and you can assign me to be the captioner.
Closed caption? Way. Okay, perfect.
Oh, there it is.
All right.
Okay.
And I'm looking, I don't see.
I found them. I'm admitting them right now.
Oh, perfect. Is that Jade? Awesome.
Do I need to
highlight? Yeah,
okay.
So we'll have you highlight Jade when they come in, and then we'll let everyone. This is the good thing. Hi, Jade. Thank you for joining us. This is the good thing about like having Zoom is you get to control when everybody comes in. So when people like come into your room early and it's just kind of like that awkwardness, like you just leave them in the waiting room.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay. Huh?
That's cold-blooded.
No, it's not though, because we're trying to figure out everything. We let you in. We looked for you. We're like, who is coming to us? So,
I should be grateful. I should be grateful. I'm sorry.
No, so we'll go ahead and as soon as I hit admit all, then that's when I'll start recording, Brianna. So Susie will get 2 recordings because that one that stopped earlier, but that way it's not a lot of extra stuff that she has at the beginning to cut out. So and then Sue, I'm just pretty much going to introduce like the session, make sure they know this is why they're here, they want to be here, and then after I go over the housekeeping rules with them, then I'll let you introduce yourself and all that. Okay.
Okay, yeah, so I'll just wait to share my screen until you're all done too.
Awesome. So. Okay. Brianna, as a co-host, one of the things we'll have to watch is if you have your participants window open on there, some people earlier kept unmuting themselves and it was really like it's distracting. So we had to, and I think that because we hear their sound, they pop up to like the top of the list. So we just had to mute them. And then we may have to private chat them and tell them like, please stop unmuting yourself. Okay. Susie was ready to kick someone out earlier. She was it just kept like popping up and popping up. And we're like, what are you doing? Like, what's happening in your world right now? So, let's see. So you're working, Sue, with, are you with David or with Distance Ed? Are you with Jody?
So I'm under Jody, but I think I will be working closely with David
Mm.
Childers too.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. We've got, let's see. And then did you highlight Jade? Whoever could highlight.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. And is it just you, Jade, in this one?
No, the other interpreter's name is Peter something. Starts with a B. Burke something.
Peter. Okay.
I worked with him for the first time today.
Okay. We'll
Sue,
try to keep an eye out for him.
this is
Oh, there
very
he is.
this is very unprofessional, Sue, but you're my favorite speaker that I've had to interpret for today.
Oh, really?
Your pace is so perfect. It's
Oh,
perfect.
good.
It's not too slow. Sometimes when it's too slow, that's a problem too. But it's
Yeah.
not too fast, not perfect. And your
Yeah.
words all have meaning, so not a lot of
Oh,
word
that's
whisper,
good.
you know. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a lot of technology stuff too. So I'm like, I don't know if there's a translation or if you have to spell it out for them. So I'm like, I'll just go slow since we have an hour and 15 minutes anyway. So.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and admit them all. And then I think I can. Oh, did somebody press record already? Oh. Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. We see some of you are still trying to connect, it looks like. So we're just going to go ahead and wait. We're letting people in shortly. So we're going to go ahead and start in just a minute or so. And Brianna, also, you can let them in too if you want to go ahead and keep admitting those people, and then I'll just go over the housekeeping. So welcome to this Flex Day session. You are all in Zoom tips for engagement, so hopefully you are in the right place. We have our presenter today, Sue Yang. She is actually one of our new hires here at Fresno City College, and she works as an activity coordinator, instructional designer for distance ed and instructional technology. So welcome, Sue. And I'm just going to go through some housekeeping items before we get started with the presentation. My name's Andrea. We also have Brianna, who's helping us out as your facilitator here. So we want to make this as smooth as possible for you. This session runs from 2:30 to 3:45. So you hopefully get to learn a lot right now, even though you've been in Zoom all morning. So just to remind you, we have muted everyone who's coming in, and we would like for you to keep yourselves muted. That way we can make sure that Sue gets through her presentation on time and is able to go through that. But we do want to encourage that communication. So if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand. Use the raise your hand function at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and we will get to that, or post those questions in the chat and we will get through those as well. Remember, this is for credit, for your Flex Day credit. So please, if your name is not your name that we have on file for you, post that in the chat or rename yourself in Zoom, so that way we make sure you don't lose out on that Flex Day credit. And then at the end of the session, please make sure that you fill out your evaluation. Tell us what you liked, tell us what you didn't like, tell us what you want to see. We really want to hear your feedback. So you can complete that evaluation in one of two ways: in your online app or your online event guide. So make sure that you complete those. And I will go ahead and turn it over to Sue now.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Welcome back. We have a couple more people joining us, but I will go ahead and share my presentation and let our Zoom facilitators let the rest of the people in. Okay.
switch that because I've got to upload it before I leave. I gotta leave it.
Yes, if everyone could just mute
I'm jumping
themselves.
in. I gotta go get something.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and Andrea and Brianna will help to mute the participants too. Thank you so much. Okay.
The Galaxy Tab S2 with the hand raised. I would call your name, but I don't. Oh, I just saw. Oh, does anyone know not to? Oh, how to add your name? Yes. So if you click in the three dots towards the top of your picture, you can put your name in there. Unless you want to go by Galaxy. It's, I mean, you know, it's a virtual world.
Thank you, Jody.
Of course.
Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Su Yang, and as Andrea said, I will be your presenter for today. I know it's been a long day, but thank you for sticking it out for the last session today. In the room with me is Dr. Jody Steele and John Wilson. I saw him as well, who will be assisting and monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, you know, feel free to type it in there, and they'll be able to reply to your questions then. Okay, so today I'm going to be going over actually just one moment here. I need to change the settings on this PowerPoint. I found out that if you don't change the settings on your PowerPoint slides, it automatically advances. And so I'm not sure why that automatically happens. But
Did I demonstrate that for you earlier, Sue?
yeah. Yes. I was like, oh no.
I think our department has done a good job today of demonstrating what can happen and how you just roll with it. It's not a perfect world.
Yes, and you know, even ourselves, I've used Zoom for quite a while, but I still run into technical glitches, and most likely, you know, you will too as you go through the semester. So, and that's okay. That's all right. All right. So today I'm going to be going over briefly, you know, information about your Zoom account and some settings, and then I'll go over some tips for engagement, how to have discussions in Zoom, and then I'll also briefly talk about you know, Canvas and ConferZoom, which is already integrated, and then lastly, just some guidance and expectations for you with your students when using Zoom. Okay, so let's see. I'm not sure why it keeps doing that, but that's all right. So for those of you that already have a Zoom account, at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar, you'll see the reactions. Can you just give me a thumbs up so I can see how many people have used Zoom? Oh, great. That's great. Okay, so I guess we're done here today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for responding there, everyone. That's great. And I know with last semester, you know, how things were very sudden and rushed. A lot of us had to quickly learn how to use Zoom. And so most of our experience was in a panic, maybe not the way that we wanted to learn, you know, Zoom, but it was, you know, something that was forced onto us. And so I applaud all of you for, you know, for being able to, you know, get through all of that and take it as a learning lesson. So I saw a couple people didn't have their thumbs raised, which is fine. And so, you know, I just want to quickly go over this part of it too as well. So faculty can sign up with Zoom to access their Zoom Pro accounts. Now, if you've previously signed up directly with Zoom, you may have some limitations on your account. I know that with the free version, it only allows for up to 40 minutes and some other options as well too. But you know, through Fresno City, we do have a licensed pro account, which allows you to hold meetings for longer than 40 minutes and has additional options such as reports and whatnot. And so you just want to make sure that you go here to register for your account then. And you just use your Fresno City email address to sign up for an account, and they're pretty quick about that. Zoom is also where you will find support for your Zoom questions. They have different guides and tutorials on how to use Zoom. So definitely a website to bookmark or to check out then. Okay, so when you log into your Zoom account, you know, you'll have your profile, and then this is also where you will have your meeting settings. Now, if you plan to use some of the features that I'll be going over today, you will have to go into your settings to enable some of these, because by default they're just turned off then. And I'm just going to point out a couple of them on this list, but you know, when you do have a chance, feel free to you know, go over all of the settings and read more about them. The private chat option allows your students to send one another a private message. So if you prefer, you know, you can disable this option in the meeting settings. By default, polling is also disabled. And so if you want to use polling, you will have to enable it for it to appear on your Zoom meeting control toolbar as the host then. There's also the nonverbal feedback, which allows participants to provide feedback to the host by clicking on an icon. And I'll go over this in more detail later about what these icons are. And then also the meeting reactions are additional icons that participants can click on during a meeting. And so those were the ones that I had just asked for a thumbs up if any of you had used Zoom before. And then also breakout rooms are disabled by default. So if you plan to use breakout rooms, you will have to go into settings to enable this feature as well. Okay. I was waiting for it to do that. All right, so once you have enabled polling as the host, and you won't see it now because you're actually just participants in this session, but once you do enable it on the host end of it, you will see the polling icon on your meeting control menu. And so I've highlighted it here in this image. There are two ways that you can add polling questions. So when you initially schedule your meetings, you can pre-add your poll questions to your meeting. And then when you actually have the meeting live, you can just simply select the questions from a drop-down then. Now, during your meeting, you also have the option to just click on the polling icon to, you know, ask a question. But keep in mind that when you do this, a new browser window will appear where you have to, you know, type in and set up your question and everything to ask. And then so it's good practice and probably more effective to just add your poll questions beforehand when you're setting up your meeting, and simply just launch them during the live meeting. Keep in mind also that there are only 2 types of polling questions at this time. Either single choice, so participants can only select one answer from a list of options, or multiple choice, so where participants can select more than one answer then. So let's give this a try. I'm going to launch a poll question that's going to appear on your screen. And so I'll give you a few minutes, a minute or so to select your answer then. So you should see that now on your screens.
Yeah, look at that. It's going quick too.
Yes.
70, 82 out of 120. I can't even call it right.
Yes. And in my next slide, I'll show you, you know, the how it looks on the host end of it, just so that when you're, you know, doing polling with your students, you'll be able to see how that all works as well. Okay, so we have about 79% of the room who have responded. So I'll just give 10 more seconds for those of you that have not responded. And then I'm going to close the poll. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll. So thank you for all of your responses. And it looks like most of you have not used polling, which is fine. 76% of you selected that you have not used polling, but 24% said that you have, and so that's great news too. So let me advance to my next slide, and then I'll show you.
Everybody can answer yes now though, because they filled out the poll.
Yeah. Okay, so I've taken some screenshots of what it looks like from the host's point of view. Now, as participants, you simply just saw that pop-up window with the question, and then you just selected your, you know, your response. Now, when launching polls, you know, the host view, I see a timer. And so, you know, again, if you say you're going to give your students a minute to respond or 2 minutes, you know, it keeps track of how long you had that poll open then. It also shows you how many people have responded. And so let's say you have 25 students in your Zoom room, and, you know, you can tell if all of them have responded yet or not. And then also you get to see which response has the highest selection. And so as students are voting, it tallies it, and then it automatically just indicates which selection has the highest response. Now, once the host ends the poll, the question will disappear from the participants window, but I still have it open. And then I have 2 options then. So I can share the results, which I'm going to do, even though I have verbally told you the different percentages, but I can share the results. So now you will see, you know, the poll results as well, you know, of the percentage and the breakdown and everything. The other option that I had was to relaunch the same poll question then. And so if you know, if we're done with this polling question and I'm ready to move on to, you know, my next topic, then I can just stop share results and then just close this poll out then. Okay. I'm going to wait for it to forward because I'm going to have to make sure it goes back. Okay. So another tip for engagement is to mention your students by name while in a Zoom meeting, especially if you have a smaller group. Now, we have over 100 people in this Zoom session, and so, and I just barely started at Fresno City. So I know, probably just a handful of people by name, but, in a smaller classroom setting, you just want to make sure that you know your students' names. And as you're lecturing or using Zoom, just, name drop, because then that catches the attention of the student, and, it can help them to kind of refocus back on the meeting then. Because I'm sure this is the end of the day. Most of you have Zoom open, but then you may also have your email open. You have Canvas open because you got to get your course ready by Monday. And so there's a lot of distractions that can happen. But, you can always call out people's names so that, it helps them to bring them back to you then. Another tool that I want to mention is Name Coach as well, which is integrated in Canvas. And then so you can have your students use Name Coach to record the pronunciation of their name. I know in Jody's session, she had mentioned how important your name is, to your identity. And when people mispronounce your name, you feel bad, like, oh, well, maybe I should have a more Western name that's easier to pronounce. But we don't want students to feel that way, or faculty, or anybody. And so, tools like Name Coach allows us to be able to hear the correct pronunciation and be able to, repeat that to the student as well. Okay. Okay. So another tip for engagement is to utilize your video space. You may have seen, and I see it as I look at the gallery view as well too, on some meetings, the virtual backgrounds that people have been using, and some of us are on the beach. Others are in outer space. There's lots of backgrounds to choose from, but backgrounds don't just have to be used, to hide a messy room or a cluttered office space, or an unfinished painting project that you have in the background. You can really utilize the virtual background when you're holding synchronous sessions. So, for example, you can create an image to use as a background that maybe includes your office hours or your email. Susie, emailed all the presenters and said, hey, for Flex Day, let's use this background. And so I'm like, cool, all right. So I'm just using it as my virtual background as well. Maybe you're teaching about a specific geographic location. And so you can include a virtual background of that area, maybe for that meeting then. Or maybe it's a historic time period, and then you can include a related image as your background as well. You can even ask your students to create a collage of maybe their favorite things to share. Even make it fun, maybe a theme for each week or something, like, okay, everybody, this week, let's find our favorite vacation spot that we've missed the most, since we've been sheltering in place. Just something fun like that to show the different personalities of everyone in the room then. I also want...
Sue,
yes,
could
go
I
ahead.
add to that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's we've had some conversations about students being a little shy or worried about turning on video. And if you use a virtual background, it allows them to block what's behind them. So their personal environment, or if their children are walking by or something like that. So it's really good to encourage them to do that, just to add to the safety and trust.
Definitely, definitely. Because it's important to keep in mind that, some of our students may not have a quiet place. It may just be a closet or something. And that's the quietest place they can get to join us for our Zoom sessions. And then so it's just important to be mindful of that. Another thing I wanted to mention is on the Fresno City College webpage, they also do have some images from around campus. I've seen quite a bit of them, some of the OAB building, the library. And so these are available for you as well to use as your virtual background. And I know our faculty are resourceful, so I know somebody can find that webpage and be able to share it in the chat so others can have access to it too. But yeah, you can go to the webpage and download whichever image you like, and then just upload it to your Zoom account to use it as a virtual background. Okay. Okay, so another tip for engagement is, give yourself a break from talking. Maybe find a short video clip to share, or a simulation that you find online that you can share with your students. Just keep in mind that when you do use videos, you will need to make sure that when you're sharing that you check that box that says for you to share your computer sound as well. Because if you don't, then the sound from your end sounds clear, but from the participants, it's kind of muffled because it's only playing it on your computer then. So just something to keep in mind then.
Can I say something about that last slide?
Yes.
Can you go back one slide? If you plan on using your videos from that are recorded from your Zoom, you want to make sure that second box is checked. Otherwise, you're going to get a green screen with you talking. So I've used some of the videos that I taught live and posted it to Canvas later, and that's something I learned the hard way.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. That's definitely helpful. Okay. All right. Now, additionally, you can have your students maybe do a research for resources, or maybe current events that are relevant to the day's topic, and share it. All of this while you're in a Zoom session then. So in this example that I have posted, you can have your students, maybe have Canvas and Zoom open. So and it doesn't have to be Canvas. If you wanted to, you could use like Google Docs or Google Slides, the Word or PowerPoint in Office 365. In the session that I went to earlier with Sally, they had talked about Padlet as well. And so that's another platform that, allows for collaboration and sharing. And then so you can just give instructions and maybe a time frame, for the students to do their search. After that time frame, you can bring everyone back, and then you can facilitate a discussion and have students share what they found. And then after the discussion, they can, even submit it, submit the resource that they've found, or, if you're using it on a Google Doc or Google Slide or even a Padlet, it just automatically saves there. And so you can use that as a resource, maybe throughout the semester that you and your students collect, curate, for additional courses in the semester as well too. So, just be creative in how you use Zoom. Think about how you typically engage students in your face-to-face classes. And then, what is it that you're trying to have students accomplish or learn, and then look at the resources and at the tools that are available and that would enhance that engagement then. Okay. So I'm just going to wait for my slide to forward and I'm going to go back, but and I tried this earlier in the morning session and it seemed to work out pretty good, but I'm gonna leave the question up here for a little bit. But I wanna know, what are some of your engagement strategies, or what have you done in Zoom meetings? And again, if you'd like to share, just please raise your hand and I'll ask you to unmute yourself. If I don't get to you, because we are on a time limit as well, feel free to type your responses in the chat. And again, as in the earlier morning session, we're planning to collect all of your ideas and approaches and make them available for your colleagues as well to view. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop share so that I can see who has their hand raised up. Kathy. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Kathy, are you here? Just go ahead and unmute your microphone then. Okay, Marianne Dunklin, if you have your hand raised as well.
What I've done, I ask a lot of questions. That's how I am in the classroom. So, and I also have, my classrooms all have desktop computers. And so I'll ask questions and I'll tell the students, okay, Google that. And sometimes I will give half the students on one half of the classroom a different thing to research than the other half. And then we talk about it. So I've kind of just done the same thing with the Zoom sessions. I ask a question and I say, okay, everybody A through J or whatever, look at this, and then the others look at that, and then what'd you find? And then we talk about it that way. So there really isn't much on the screen, but they're engaging, because I found that it's a lot harder to get them to engage and answer questions through Zoom than it is in the classroom.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's a great idea. All right, was there anyone else?
Can you explain to me, this is Beth Carr, can you explain to me how to raise my hand on Zoom? I don't see it.
Okay. Yes. So if you open up your participants, if you click on that icon on your toolbar, you'll see like everybody who's in the room, and then you'll see like those icons at the bottom. Yeah, so that's one place that you can go to, to get the host's attention. The other one was at the bottom of the toolbar, where you had the participants window as well. And then there's that reactions with the smiley face and the plus in the corner of the head.
I see the reactions. I just didn't know where the raising of the hand was.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes. Diana, you have Botricia? You have your thumbs up. I'm not sure if that's a comment or just a thumbs up.
Hi, Sue. This is Marisol. I have a question.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, I have two questions. For breakout rooms, because I'm teaching asynchronous, I don't always know which students are going to be in a meeting. And so I can do breakout rooms if I'm doing it previously, or getting ready for it or preparing it, but I don't know how to do it while I'm in the actual room.
Mm-hmm. So what you want to do first is you want to check your settings and make sure that the breakout rooms feature is enabled, so that when you start your meeting, you'll be able to see, and it may be hidden because there's going to be a more icon at the end. And when you click on more, it's going to have breakout rooms.
Okay.
And then so there, there's going to be two options. You can either manually add whoever is in your Zoom room to a specific breakout room, or you can just have Zoom randomly say, okay, give me groups of 5.
3
just,
people.
yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll try that out.
Yeah.
I think that was, I also was going to ask a question about, shoot. Now I forgot. No biggie. But thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. If it comes back to you, just put it in the chat and we'll get
Thank
to
you.
it then too. Yeah. All right.
I remembered.
Yes.
Okay. So I like to use whiteboard all the time, and I've been using the whiteboard, but I use it from my Mac, and I'm not using a iPad or anything like that. And so I'm really bad at drawing. So is there a way to make it compatible, or do you need an iPad for using like a stylus?
Yeah, so the whiteboard is a neat feature of Zoom as well, especially for, math instructors, chemistry instructors, because you're able to write equations, directly on the whiteboard. Now, if you're using a mouse to write on the whiteboard, it may be a little bit more complicated. It works best, the whiteboard works best if you are using a touch screen. So if your computer was a touch screen, or again, if you were using like an iPad or a device that had the tablet, if one of my other suggestions would be, if you have a presentation, or if you have a file, or if you have an image of some sort, another way to do that would be to use the annotation tool that's here available in Zoom here. And then
and it works really well.
Yes, and then so that could be a workaround, because then you don't have to necessarily write out everything, but maybe just circle and highlight key areas as you're working with students.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Great. So again, if you have any additional questions that come up, feel free to put it in the chat, and we'll get to it as soon as we can.
Yeah, and so Sue, I messaged Jody while I was in here, and she said she was managing the chat. So I know she's been answering some of those questions through there. But Jody, I didn't know if there was any like set questions you wanted to actually pose so that people could hear them if they're not monitoring the chat, because there's a lot of questions that are going through there.
No, I think they're mostly feature-based questions, and we're recording the auto recording captions transcript. Sorry, transcript.
Okay.
Yes, if we don't get to your question, don't worry. We're good. This is recorded. We are saving the chat, and so for the questions that are not answered, we will respond through email or a different medium as well. And we do have some upcoming workshops. We'll have more Zoom workshops too, and so you'll see that information going out to register for some of those workshops.
And then some people have their hands raised. I didn't know if it was a good time to go to any of those questions, Sue.
Sure, let's see here. let's see. I'm gonna try to go and get through my presentation
Oh,
first.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Because I don't want us to run out of time, but definitely we'll get to your questions as soon as we can then. And I think Susie said we could stay in the Zoom room even after the workshop ends. So if you want to hang out, I'll definitely stick around to answer some of those specific questions.
Yeah, and there are a lot of questions about the whiteboard feature, and it would be difficult for you to try it out right now because you click share screen, and then one of the options besides the screens you see, it says whiteboard, and so you can type on that. But anytime you share your screen and you have a whiteboard on, on your desktop, you can use that as well. We have a couple of options for that, especially if you need mathematical equations or Greek letters. We have options for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so thank you for your questions and for sharing some of your strategies. I just want you to know that I don't have all the answers, and there is no one answer that's gonna, magically make your course, super engaging and everything. This is all a collaborative process and practice, and we all can share it and learn from each other. And so again, I want to thank those of you that have been sharing, not just verbally, but also in the chat. So, okay. So moving on to tips for discussions then. So I briefly mentioned this, but the nonverbal feedback are icons that students can select, that provides feedback to you as the host of the meeting. So when you're in your Zoom session, you can have the participants window showing so that you're able to see when a student has selected one of those icons. I think it's definitely important for the classes that may have longer meeting times. Make sure to have a break in there somewhere, or stop, and ask if there are any questions. So when you enable the nonverbal feedback, there's different icons. One is the raised hand, so for any questions. There's a yes/no response to a question. There's the go slower or faster. So if you're going too fast in your presentation and students aren't able to catch up or anything, they can indicate with that icon. There's thumbs up, thumbs down, applause, need a break, and then just an away icon as well.
I just wanted to mention, I was just typing a feedback to Keeleen. Is it Keeleen or Colleen? I need name coach.
Sorry. Irish name, English spelling, and it looks Chinese. It's pronounced Kailan.
Kailan. Oh,
Yes.
okay, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, you made the suggestion to try it out with a few of your friends.
Yeah.
That's always a good idea. Maybe a couple of your fellow peers also would want to try it and test drive some of the features on you before you go with live students. Great suggestion.
Yes. Yeah, that's excellent. Or even your family, as you're trying to stay connected with them, those that, may be living in different states and whatnot. So just ask, hey, can I try this feature? Or, when we Zoom and just practice that way as well. Now, similar to what I demonstrated earlier, you can embed checkpoints or reflection points, throughout your slides. And so this reminds you, to stop and ask for feedback, or maybe to check for understanding on the content that you're currently covering. But it also allows you to address any questions that may have been asked in the chat. You know, as I'm sharing my screen here, it takes up my entire screen, so I'm unable to see the chat unless I have that window open as well too. But I know that when you're presenting and trying to monitor all of that, you know, it takes practice. And so, you know, just maybe putting in some, you know, intentional points on your slides will help you to kind of, you know, make it flow a little bit better. Okay. Now, you know, I had said, you know, having those intentional questions embedded in your slides, but also pausing. So, you know, when you do ask a question, give time for students to reflect on it, think about it, you know, and ask questions. And give them, you know, more than just a minute to really think about it and come back with a response then. I mean, for us today, we've been on Zoom since this morning, and I don't know about you, but most of us are zoomed out. And so, you know, these pauses and breaks, it's definitely going to be needed, especially once, you know, classes are in session, because, you know, some students are going to have a very long day of instruction. And you know, who knows how many of those courses are meeting synchronously or, you know, asynchronously. And so that just makes for a long day. I know since we've been working remotely, I have to step away from my computer and from Zoom, because if I don't, I'm just stuck here. And it really tires me out more so than when I was actually in the office. And so, you know, taking those breaks and just pausing, I think will definitely help everybody to be more productive then. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, you know, it's hard to focus on the chat as well as present at the same time. So, you know, maybe you involve your students, you know, maybe have someone watch the chat and, you know, monitor that. And so if a question does come up, then, you know, you can just have them unmute themselves to interrupt you and let you know that there's a question, you know, in the chat then. And so don't be afraid to involve your students, you know, and have them participate, you know, in Zoom with you, you know, because then it helps to build that classroom, you know, community, as well as, you know, building that trust that you have among your students then. All right. So another tip for discussion is to utilize breakout rooms. Now, when you use breakout rooms, as I mentioned earlier, you can manually assign the groups ahead of time. So if you already have your students' names and everything, you know, you can create those groups as you create your, you know, your meeting link prior to. Or when you're actually in the live Zoom, you can randomly assign people to a group. And then so within a breakout room, participants, they can still talk and see each other, as well as share their screen then. All right, so I'm gonna try this. And you know, if you have a cell phone, take it out at this time. And I want you to just take a picture of this screen, because this screen has the instructions for the activity that we're going to do. Or, you know, we're all on computers. Most of us are. If you want, you can also just take a screenshot from your computer then. There are over 100 of you in this room right now, but what I want to do is place you into different breakout rooms. Jody, were you working on that, or do you have access or no?
Yeah, I do have access.
Okay.
So I have not created rooms, so I think we're just gonna give it a go. You know, because under each person's name it says put in a waiting room. Oh, put in waiting room, right? Not that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we will put y'all.
Yes. Yeah. When do you have access to breakout rooms or no? Do you see that under more?
Oh, with participants?
No. Okay. I think I only have it because I'm the host.
Mm.
That's okay. I'll do it on my end too then.
Okay. Can you repeat that, where you're going to find that?
Yes. So once you've enabled breakout rooms in your settings, in your Zoom toolbar at the bottom, you know, where you have your audio, your video, your participants, your share screen, there's going to be at the end, it's going to say more. And then so when you click on that, one of the options is breakout rooms. And then so when you, you know, it allows you to create breakout rooms, whether, and I'm just going to do it randomly because I don't have enough time to actually, you know, place each of you individually into a room. So let's see here.
And you know, Sue, I've made this mistake before too. The chat or the participants in the chat can cover up that end of the screen. So it's really important to know how to manipulate the entire screen for Zoom, because things do get hidden behind other features.
Definitely. And I should have worked this out with the interpreters. Let me know which room you would need to go into specifically.
Yeah.
So you can continue to do that for the faculty members. And so when I open up all the rooms, you're going to get a message that's going to ask you to join a breakout room. And so I just want you to do a quick round of introductions, you know, your name, your department, you know, how many years you've been at Fresno City, and then just look around your space and environment and share something. You know, it could be a pet that you have around, or you know, maybe it's a book that you have on your desk. You know, it could be anything that you want to share. And so I'll give about 15 minutes for this activity, and then we'll come back to the main room and continue there then.
Sue, I have a question. Whichever room will continue to record is probably the one the interpreter should stay in. I don't know how to work that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the main room. So I'm gonna share some guidance for you, because the breakout
if you don't
rooms
mind me interrupting, this is the other interpreter, because we have one interpreter that's right now on screen. I'm going to be asking to make sure that question and comment is being interpreted for everybody to have access to that question.
I should have interpreted it.
Okay. Do you mind giving us just a moment for Jade to be able to interpret his question to make sure everybody has access to that? Thank you.
Sorry. Right. What I said just now was when we go to the breakout rooms, I'd recommend that the interpreter, for access to any deaf or hard of hearing that need it, whichever room continues to be recorded, that's the room that I end up in.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's this the first room, the one we're in right now.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and open up all your rooms. You'll see that message, and then go ahead and join your breakout rooms.
There's anxiety. People don't want to be sent over like in Star Trek, right? They're beaming you over to another room.
Actually, Jade, I think you will stay in this room because you're actually not a participant. You are a co-host, I believe.
I see, this is the interpreter speaking. I see a box that offers for me to join breakout room number 8. Should I accept that or not push it?
Okay, yeah, so don't push it because this main room is the one that's going to be recorded then.
Okay, I understand.
Thank you. And thanks so much for your patience on this.
Oh, it's complicated. No, that's no problem. This is who expected this? Wow. Sue, we have a question from Stephen, but just a second. I need to blow up Stephen. You're small, Stephen.
Does this help?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Okay. Okay, go ahead. Okay, I have a question for Sue. I noticed that there's a new Zoom app, and it says that you can now use PowerPoint, the slideshow in the background behind you as the virtual background. I noticed that you can do that now. Is that something that's permitted, or is that like best practice? That something you could show your students behind you? Do you think that would be a successful educational tool to use slides like that?
Nancy mentioning it's busy.
What do you think?
Yes, I just saw that Zoom has updated their app. I think we were on 5.0 for a long time, and then now they just updated it. I think it's like 5.2 or something now. I think just last week or this week or something like that.
That's
And
right.
I just read that update. I haven't played around with that new feature yet. But if your app on your device is updated, you can definitely test it out and see if it would work with you then. Because I'm not sure how it would look, or as you're using your video, you're gonna be in front of your PowerPoint. I don't know how that's gonna look.
Be like a weather person on TV.
Yeah, yes, yeah, and for some of them, you may need a green screen. I don't know how many of us have green screens either, but
Right.
And this
yeah,
is Nancy Mitchell here.
yes,
Yes. So, yeah, is it me? Okay, perfect. Great. Yeah. So anyways, we mentioned about setting up some rules in for our ASL students. And so for us to identify whoever is speaking, we would have somebody to be able to, just one second, we're just clarifying of who's voicing right now. My video is off, so I've been voicing this whole time, so yes. Anyways, we would have somebody who's a student who wants to speak be able to click the hands up button, but at the same time, I also wanted to mention that the background for the virtual background is a bit busy for me.
Mhm. No, that's great to know. Yeah,
And so just
definitely.
one second, we're going to clarify. So everybody who's deaf, just letting you know, both of us were voicing, and I didn't put up my video, but I was voicing, I promise. So sorry about the confusion. Just because there were several people signing at the same time, I tried to team and support, making sure everybody had access. So your comments were voiced. Sorry.
Yes, thank you, Nancy. I think any tips that you could provide for us that we could share with other faculty would definitely help.
Steve saying, if Nancy, you can go ahead and speak. Yeah, I feel like the background with all the movement that's happening, Steve, is just very distracting just to see everything that's in the back. It's quite busy and it's a little difficult for my eyes, but you should already know that. I mean, like, you see all that stuff happening behind you, you know that. Yes. You can see there at the bottom you see there's a few on the bottom, that's 15 of them that we use for ASL. It's great for signing. So I don't know. I mean, there's 25 or more students. When we have all those students, all the tiles for each person we see is quite small as it is. So it becomes not fun, and it's just, we would have to set up breakout sessions just to make sure that we can have those smaller groups to see our students better. Really, FCC needs to be able to limit the amount of students for our ASL classes just to make sure that we can access the ASL language that we're teaching. And so maybe 15 students or so.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Okay. People are slowly returning.
So Nancy, if you were explaining a little, can you explain a little bit more about that with the sizes being smaller? Do you mind doing that a bit? Oh, Steve, yeah, me. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the differences of where you're looking, thinking I'm up when I think I'm down. But what do you mean when I'm talking about smaller? Yes, Steve speaking. He's saying yes. When you're talking about the videos being smaller in breakout sessions, are you talking about the window itself being smaller? Do you remember what you were saying? Nancy speaking, saying, I don't know, there's different things that we can use through Zoom, of course. You can use different things for Confer Zoom or different features that are in both of those different platforms. So really, I don't know what this, if the students see something different, but from when you see something at a larger scale, it's bigger, clearer. But when it's smaller, it just, I don't really agree with the accessibility to that. So Steve is saying the issue is, I apologize for the interpreter, I missed pin. So Sue, maybe if there are some ideas you can address regarding pinning somebody on Zoom or.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we're currently doing with the interpreters right now, because it depends on the user itself. If they have their, because I'm not sharing my screen, and so my view is a gallery view. So I understand, Nancy, like the little, small icons of everybody. And so if someone was interpreting, it's really hard to see. You really have to get in there to be able to see that. And that's why, especially for these sessions, we've, have
He's saying
to,
using a magnifying glass.
Yeah, and that's why we had to spotlight the interpreters so that their windows are larger, instead of all jumbled up with everybody else's window. Yeah, Zoom still has a lot of things that it can be updated and fixed, but we'll see what they come up with next.
And Nancy had her hand raised. Okay, yes, I think that's good. For the hearing participants who could be able to see sign and to see what works with the interpreters and can get an idea from the perspective of how a deaf person would be able to see. Like the breakout rooms was not really a great session for us as deaf. So if we can find somebody, like let's say if somebody shows up late, the interpreter where they're stationed ends up moving around, everything gets jumbled, or if the presenter is saying something, everything gets jumbled. So if you can only imagine, it's hard for us to follow with the screens changing, as well as, it's the same type as like speaking over each other when we're trying to go through this. So we maybe need to set up like a room for a Conver Zoom and just make sure, I don't use interpreters in my room. So what I would encourage is just to make sure we can have something set up at the same time. And for students that are signing, another person adds into the screen, everything gets jumbled around. We now no longer know who's speaking, and it just becomes quite a distraction, if you know what I mean. So I think it's better to set up a rule such as raising a hand. That way we can spotlight that specific person who clicked that, so they can be able to say what they would like. The person who's speaking could be able to say whatever they like and have the interpreter be able to interpret that for us, to be able to have all that available. Because when we're using sign, let's say if we're, providing a name, we could have that presented, and then we could say, okay, great, we can have that set up first, second, third, who would be next for speaking.
Yeah, yes, definitely. So, I mean, using the other, other reaction icons may work better for you and your students. And so, definitely just stick with that then. Because I don't think Zoom's going to come up with a solution, in the next couple months for us or anything. Even though there is a lot of pressure for Zoom right now because so many people are using it, especially us in
You see
education.
already right now, I'm trying to look for the interpreter.
Yeah. No.
And so, yeah, so it's almost like, where's Waldo?
Yeah. So thank you for your patience and for your wonderful comments and suggestions. Okay, welcome back, everybody.
And this is a sign language interpreter interrupting. If you don't mind, at this moment, right, I'm going to ask you about Spotlight. So if you don't mind spotlighting my video, so that way we could be able to have access to the interpreter. Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Now, I just want you to keep in mind that, you know, in your, you know, typical Zoom class size, it's not going to be this large. And so, you know, you may not, I know some of the rooms may not have had enough time to share, you know, and introduce themselves, but I just wanted you to see from a student's perspective what joining a breakout room would look like. And if you think that this would be something that would be effective, you know, for you and your students in your courses. So we do have some upcoming workshops that will go more in depth on these features. And so, you know, just look for that information to be coming soon. Okay, so I'm going to go back into my slides. And I wanted to mention that in Canvas, you know, you will see a link in the course navigation for Confer Zoom. So if you'd like, you can also, you know, click on this to schedule your Zoom meetings within Canvas as well. You know, again, you can go to their website for the guides on how, you know, to set this up and everything in Canvas also. If we could all just mute our microphones, thank you so much. All right, so, you know, at the beginning of the semester, I think it's just so important to set your guidelines and expectations and to go over these with your students. Don't expect that all your students are going to be ready to go on the first day of class. You know, take that first day as a practice session and see what kind of setup the students have. You know, how are they connecting to Zoom? Do they have a quiet space? Do they have the hardware? Do they have, you know, access to a webcam? You know, these are all things that, you know, we should be mindful of, you know, as we, you know, use different tools and technology with our students. And then also, like, what are some video meeting rules that you want to have in place? What are some guidelines? And this could be a list that you and your students come up with and agree upon. And you can post these in Canvas, you know, and remind students of the rules, you know, the first couple of weeks, just to set that norm norm up in the beginning then. And then also remind your students of the sessions, you know, utilize announcements in Canvas, you know, of the dates and times, you know, if there's any pre-work or post-work, you know, let the students know ahead of time as well too. And then also just providing a plan or an agenda of how you're going to be conducting the meeting so that students are prepared as well. So I have one additional poll and I'm going to go ahead and launch that right now. So you'll see a poll coming up on your screen. So, you know, how ready are you for Monday? So I'll give you a minute or so. I see we have a lot of funny people in here too.
That's good. You'll need
Yes.
that.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna end the poll in 5 seconds here. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and share those results with you. So 10 of your colleagues are not sure what's happening on Monday, so you may want to inform them. But you know, it looks like most of you are ready, and that's good. That's good. We do have 10 superstars as well who are totally ready, and so those are the colleagues that you want to reach out to as well. But you know, as I mentioned earlier, we will have additional workshops that are coming, and you know, so look out for that. I do want to thank all of you for attending today. Thank you to Jody, John, Carolyn, for monitoring the chat. Thank you to our facilitators, Andrea and Brianna. Thank you so much. And then also, you know, for helping with Zoom, and then also to our interpreters as well, who've been doing a fabulous job all day. So I know Jody's in the room. Yep, go ahead, Jody.
If you want to stay on, we can show you how the whiteboard works, just to have a fling with it.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome.
I learned what I wanted to learn, and I feel very confident.
Woo! Let's keep it up there.
Thank you both.
Bye.
Yes, that's great.
I'm gonna hang on for the whiteboard.
Okay. Yeah, so for the share screen and the whiteboard, if you want students to share simultaneously, if they're working on you know, a problem, or they're all trying to demonstrate who can draw Mickey Mouse the best, you know, you can have a fun activity like that. But I'm going to show you first the share screen with the whiteboard. And so when I click the green button down below for share screen, it opens up a couple of choices for me, and one of them says whiteboard. And so I'm opening that right now. One of your colleagues gave me a good pointer. She said that when you're hanging out on your office hour perhaps, and you don't want people to be staring at you if they pop in, you can put on here something like, you know, I'm here. I can hear you. I can hear you. I'll be right there or something. So you can see that I'm typing, right? And then of course there's draw, stamps. I don't know what that is. Spotlight, eraser, format. And then that portion there. I mentioned about the equation editor, and I think it was Kathy that was asking, Catherine, I think. Somebody in here uses Pisces in Canvas, which has a very robust equation editor in the Greek letters that I was talking about, but we're updating that between now and tomorrow. So you'll be able to see that as well. So now I'm going to do new feature, and this is something that I wanted to show you before I even click it. And this is Whiteboard Fox. And I don't have an account. I just went to the website, and then I can click start, any participant. Okay, and so this is a whiteboard that you can freely use right on your screen. It's true, it does help if you have a stylus or something, that kind of touch screen, but it's not required. I think Pisces is the best choice when it comes to numbers and equations. If you have an iPad, you could always, with the stylus, or however you use your finger, you could always use your phone, your iPad to call into your Zoom. record your screen with your iPad and write on it, and then, you know, it shows it. Layers of sharing. Any questions about whiteboard feature?
You said on Whiteboard Fox iPad, does it work with Android also?
Whiteboard Fox, I imagine it does. It says tablet friendly. Just have a go of it. Go to whiteboardfox.com and just click start drawing, and then you can tell us.
Can you
Thank
save
you.
the whiteboard?
I'm sorry?
Can you save the whiteboard? If I go to Whiteboard Fox, can I then save it, maybe to send it to participants later, or?
Yeah, you'd have to do some sort of screen capture, unless you put it on your main screen. I'd have to play with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you know, and like Sue said, you know, we don't have all the answers, and a lot of this is trial and error. It does build your confidence. I know it's really hard for academics because we know that we're experts in our discipline. And so then to try something that we're not quite an expert in, it's really awkward. But we also have a greater adrenaline high when we do get it. That's right. Did it. Beat the computer. So it's fun. It's exciting. Hi, Mike Gilbert. You have a hand raised.
Yeah, Jody, my experience, not deliberately, but my experience has been that when I've recorded the Zoom session, all of the whiteboards that I produced during the session have turned up in that file of all the stuff that you recorded during the Zoom session. So there's definitely a feature for you that records them as you're producing them.
Yeah, that would make sense to me too, Mike, you know, because if I have my PowerPoint going, it's recording that, right? And that's me sharing my screen effectively. So beautiful.
Even
Thanks,
even if you don't record it, it still saves your whiteboards. You can save them to a file.
True, excellent. Yeah. But we do have so some people use Screencast-O-Matic, and it's really cheap. I mean, I'm talking about $1 a month. And then there's a version of it that has speech to text, and then you can also save things to a cloud. But we are getting Canvas Studio, which does all of that to write in Canvas, screen capture, speech to text. So it's going to be really sweet, but we don't have it yet. Soon. See how much you can learn from your peers. Thank you so much for all of your contributions and suggestions. It's wonderful.
Susie, I see that you're in the room now. I have this closed caption broadcasting pop-up. I don't know if it's safe for me to just close out of that or if I need to do something on my end to save it.
No, you do not. Zoom does it all for you.
Oh, okay. So I can just X out of this then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And Susie, I think most people missed the evaluation in the chat because we ended at 3:45.
No, I know. It's fine.
Okay.
I'll send out an email.
Okay.
Mine ended early.
This is the first session that I got evaluation. Was it given in all the other ones? Or?
Yeah, I didn't have it at the end of mine either, but it must be going through email.
So if the link I just sent to you, the session evaluations are embedded within all of the sessions. So if you click on the session that you attended and you scroll all the way down to the bottom, in fact, I'm going to show you guys right now.
Can we switch interpreters? Switch spotlighting interpreters.
Are we switching to you, Jade?
Yes, this is Peter speaking. Thank you so much. I got to leave this session. Jade, thank you for taking over.
Yes, switch to Jade. Thank you.
Okay, so can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
This is the online event guide. Go to any of the sessions. We'll go down to this one. And if you scroll all the way down, the session survey is right there. And it's the same survey for every session, but you take it within the session and it knows which session that you are surveying. That was a lot of S's.
Susie, were the facilitators supposed to do that? I mean, the presenter?
So I had to scramble for facilitators. Usually we have the ambassadors doing this, and they were busy with Ram Ready. So a lot of the facilitators, they were novices, and we did a training the night before, but I gave them a lot of information. They may have forgot it, and I said, if you're going to forget something, you can forget the session evaluation, because I will also send out an email.
Okay.
Stephen,
David, do you have a question?
yeah, Stephen is asking who will finish up the talk today, the meeting, the session. I noticed a lot of people are leaving. Is it over or?
Yeah, it ended at 3:45, right, Sue?
Yes, the last session was just the whiteboard one if you wanted to stick around, but yeah, we're done for today.
Looks like David Riley has a question.
Yes. I hope this isn't dumb, but can I create a Canvas session with nobody involved so I can play with whiteboard and stuff like that?
Yep. You sure can.
And
it's
how
not dumb at all.
Okay. How would I do that? Is it complicated or?
No, you just go to your settings that's on a desktop for Zoom, and you open it up like you were going to schedule a meeting, but you just click join, and it opens up your own Zoom, and then you can play with all the features there. You could even invite a participant in if you wanted to.
Oh, great. Thank you very much.
You can zip them out into a breakout room. Hi, Denise.
I've been waiting so patiently. I have a I have a very basic question. When you share screen, I tried I was with someone and we were working on another teacher. We were through Zoom, but I was the host, okay, or hostess, and they wanted to share it was on their screen, but they were unable to do that. Can you, when you have, like if you had your students and they wanted, as Sue said, you could have them do some research. Can they share what's on their screen, or is it only the host that can?
Yeah, in fact, I just changed the setting as you were talking. By the green share screen, there's another little arrow up, and I clicked multiple participants can share simultaneously. So why don't you go ahead and share your screen? Whoever, as ever many of you would like to share your screen, maybe the whiteboard. Maybe you can find that amongst the screens. It just says whiteboard. Terry's got it. Yep.
Yeah. That's great to know, because I know that when they upgraded Zoom, because I've been using Zoom for quite a while, but you weren't able to do a lot of these things that we can do now. So that's really good to know. And then whiteboard, because I don't teach math, I teach English. I was thinking, how could I use the whiteboard? Well, actually, when the students do mapping of an article, I could actually do, the bubbles, and I could do the writing where they would go through and actually map out, the short story that they're doing. So that was really very valuable. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and another feature, I just asked if I could take over Terry's screen, and I wrote my name on it. So under view options at the top, if you click the down arrow, it gives you the opportunity to click, request a remote control. And then you can take it, and now I'll give up my remote control.
Okay, that's good to know. Great, thank you.
Yeah, it is, especially for problem solving on, if somebody doesn't know where a button is, or if they're really having difficulty, you can request to take over their screen and show them. Did this work? Yes, it did.
Okay,
can somebody else share their screen?
I have a question then.
Yeah.
So I just did that, and I went up to annotate under view options because I saw that there and was interested. So if you want to turn that off so that students can't take over, can't annotate on your screen, how do you do that?
Oh, they have to request access. So Terry granted it to me, right? Terry, what came up on your screen when I clicked that?
Did she grant access to everybody? Because I didn't ask for access.
No, he just gave it to me.
Okay, well then why did my did this work appear there?
Oh, I see. Okay, we're all contributing because I put multiple. So that's the setting that multiple participants can share simultaneously.
Okay.
So we're all sharing on Terry's whiteboard.
Okay.
As you can see, we're making it really beautiful. Now imagine how this would be for your students, right? To have that sense of collaboration. That's great.
Yeah, it is. Fun.
That's a pretty decent heart, whoever did that.
Oh, that's one of those stamps.
No, this one.
Oh, that one.
The blue one, that's mine.
Oh, yeah, that is good.
I guess you have to save it.
It's still recording.
A visual representation of your time together.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Wonderful.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend, rest up, and have a great Monday. And Susie, thank you so much for all your work. I hope you enjoy next week.
I am absolutely going to enjoy next week. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Jody,
Very helpful.
Excellent.
Thank you.